chosen one, what I am about to say to you carries two truths, and both are spoken by the same voice, at the same time, for the same reason. The first truth: you have been right. Not in the wishful way, not in the stubborn way, not in the way someone is right, simply because they refuse to be wrong. Right in the way discernment is right, quietly, persistently, and without requiring anyone else's agreement to remain true. The knowing you have been carrying is not noise, it is signal. And the fact that it has stayed with you through every season, every contradiction, every person who could not see what you were seeing, that persistence is not a problem. That persistence is the proof. The second truth: be careful. And hear that word the way it was intended, not as a warning that you are wrong, but as instruction from a father who sees exactly what you are walking toward and loves you too much to let you arrive there unprepared. Careful and bold are not opposites in the life of a chosen one. Wisdom is not the silence before movement. Wisdom is the quality of the movement itself. Today, you will receive both: the confirmation you have been waiting for, and the instruction that makes it safe to act on. This moment was not directed toward you without purpose. What follows was shaped for exactly the season you are in. And by the time this message has said everything it was sent to say, you will move not from desperation, but from knowing. Everything I share with you in the next several minutes is offered freely. But if at any point your spirit draws toward something more, there is something waiting for you in the description below and in the pinned comment. Only follow it if you feel genuinely led. Now, before we go any further, I want to tell you something. If you stay with me through everything this message carries, you will walk away with three things: a clear, practical way to tell the difference between real wisdom and fear wearing wisdom's face; a deep understanding of why the knowing you have been holding is actually trustworthy; and a specific tool you can begin using today in any decision connected to your calling that will help you move forward without second-guessing yourself into stillness. These are not small things. They are exactly what this season requires. Stay with me. Think of a moment just before something changes, when the room is still, when the light is soft, and everything outside is moving through its usual pattern, but something inside you has gone very quiet. Not anxious, not excited, just still, the stillness of a person standing at a threshold they have not yet found the right name for. You have had that moment. You know the one, because you have been carrying something. And I do not need to know the details of your story to understand the shape of what you have been holding, because the shape of it is the same for every chosen one who is standing where you are standing right now. And I want to show you what that shape looks like. You have been carrying a knowing that would not leave you, not a wish, not a preference dressed in spiritual language. A knowing the kind that settles quietly in the back of your awareness without asking for permission to stay there. You have tried to argue it away. You have looked at the evidence against it and made your case to yourself. And then the next morning, you woke up and the knowing was still there, undisturbed, still saying exactly what it has always said. That is not stubbornness. That is not delusion. When something survives every rational challenge you bring against it, and returns with the same quiet certainty, that is not just a thought, that is direction. You have been noticing that certain other doors have gone quiet. Paths that seemed possible before have stopped opening. Opportunities in other directions have stalled in ways that made no clear sense, and in the moment, that felt like loss. It felt like something being taken. But looking back from where you are standing now, those closures were not punishments. They were not even delays. They were routing. Every door that went quiet was simply pointing you back toward the one thing that has not changed. You have been growing quieter about sharing this direction with the people around you. Not because you are ashamed, not because you believe you are wrong, but because something inside you understood before your mind had words for it that what you are carrying is not yet ready for the scrutiny of those who cannot yet see it. The silence around your knowing has not been weakness, it has been protection. You have been guarding something that is still taking its full shape. You have been noticing things that line up in ways that are harder and harder to call coincidence. A conversation that arrives at exactly the right moment. A word that lands exactly when you needed it. A pattern in the things happening around you that keeps pointing in the same direction you have already been sensing. These are not accidents. These are confirmations speaking in a language quieter than words, and you have been hearing them. And through all of it, through the opposition, through the silence, through the moments when everything outside you said to give up, you have felt a peace about this direction that you cannot fully explain. Not comfort, not the ease of a life without friction. Peace, the specific, unreasonable peace of someone who is standing in the right place, even when the right place is difficult. That peace is not wishful thinking. It comes from a frequency that is not native to the noise around you. It comes from somewhere higher. And I hear the Father saying this over your life right now. What you have been sensing was never yours alone to carry. The knowing that stayed was placed there. And today I am releasing the confirmation you have been asking for. You have been right. Before we continue, I want to stop here for just a moment, because I want to say something that does not get acknowledged often enough. Carrying a knowing without external confirmation is not easy. Holding something true inside you when the world around you cannot yet see it is one of the quietest forms of faithfulness that exists, and you have been doing that. Whatever season brought you to this message, you have been doing that, and it matters. Now, before we go into the teaching that comes next, I want to be transparent with you about something. Everything in this message is freely given, but toward the end of this, I am going to share something called the Genius Song, a tool created by a neuroscientist that speaks directly to the brainwave state underlying the very discernment we have been talking about. 7 minutes a day, through headphones, activating the specific frequency your brain was designed to operate from. I will explain this fully when the time is right. If your spirit is drawn to it at that point, the information is in the description and in the pinned comment below. Only follow it if you feel genuinely led. Right now, let me show you what makes the knowing you carry trustworthy, beginning with the oldest word for wisdom in the ancient world. Here is something most people have never been taught about wisdom. Wisdom does not demand that you move. Fear demands that you stay. Wisdom does not promise that everything will be safe. Fear promises comfort at the cost of the calling. Wisdom does not require your circumstances to agree with it before it speaks. Fear requires everything to feel certain before it gives you permission to act. Wisdom moves from certainty. Fear moves from pressure. And the difference between those two things, between certainty and pressure, is something every chosen one standing at a threshold must learn to feel. Because the same instruction can come from two completely different sources. And the quality of the movement that follows depends entirely on which source you are listening to. In the ancient Hebrew language, the word we translate as wisdom is chakma. And when you look at how that word was actually used in the ancient world, it changes everything you thought you knew. Chakma was not used to describe someone who sat still and thought carefully before acting. It was used to describe a craftsman, someone whose hands knew exactly what to do in the specific moment they were in. A sculptor who understood the grain of the stone. A builder who could feel where the weight needed to go. Chakma meant skilled living, precision in motion. So when God says move with wisdom, he is not saying wait longer. He is saying move like someone who has been prepared for this. Move with the skill of a person who knows exactly why they are moving and what they are moving toward. That is what chakma actually means. Not caution for its own sake. Skilled, intentional, prepared movement. There is a scientist whose work connects directly to what we have been talking about. A researcher who has spent over 3 decades studying the specific brainwave state that makes this kind of knowing clear and accessible. His research covers far more ground than I can show you today. But today, we are opening the first door. And I will come back to this before this message ends. Now, there is a story in the ancient text about a woman named Esther who found herself at a threshold almost identical to yours. She knew she was right. She knew what needed to happen. She knew that her calling had placed her in exactly that position for exactly that moment. But she did not move immediately. Not because she doubted herself. Not because she was afraid. She moved wisely. She prepared. She chose the right moment. Not the first available moment, but the right one. And when she finally spoke, she spoke with the calm authority of someone who had already decided, long before that moment, exactly who she was and why she was there. That is what wisdom looks like on a body. Not frozen, not frantic, prepared, and precisely timed. And here is what matters most about Esther. Her knowing was correct from the very beginning. Her knowing was never the question. The question was always how she would carry it into the moment that required it. And Chachma was her answer. So, how do you know practically, in the actual moments of your life, whether the voice you are hearing is wisdom or fear? Here is something I want to give you. 2 voices, 2 very different qualities, and 1 test to tell them apart. Wisdom speaks with certainty, and it does not demand urgency. When wisdom is the voice speaking, it does not panic. It does not say if you do not act now, you will miss everything. It speaks with a settled quality, the kind of certainty that will still be there tomorrow and the day after, saying the same thing. It does not need to rush you, because it is not afraid of what happens if you pause. Fear speaks with urgency, but it cannot give you certainty. Fear is loud. Fear creates pressure. Fear says, go now. Do it now, before it is too late. But when you pause, and this is the test, when you pause and ask the voice why right now, specifically, fear has no real answer, only more pressure. So here is how to use this. When you face the next decision connected to your calling, stop for a moment just in your mind, wherever you are right now. Think of the knowing you have been carrying, and ask it 1 question. Are you certain or are you urgent? If it is certain, if it can stay calm while you pause, it has passed the test. If it is urgent, if it needs you to act before you can think, examine it before you follow it. The Father does not speak in panic. He has never once spoken in panic. His wisdom is always certain, without being frantic. And I hear the Father releasing this over your life today. Move, but move the way I am moving, with purpose and without panic. Carry what I have already placed in you, and step forward from that place. Now, chosen one, there is something we have not named yet, and we need to name it before this message can do what it was sent to do, because there is a pattern that stops even the most discerning chosen ones from crossing the threshold they are ready for. A pattern far more subtle than doubt, and unless you can name it clearly, it will keep you standing at the threshold long after your time to cross it has come. That is where part 2 begins. Stay with this. In part 1, we named the signs. We named the principle Chachma, wisdom, as skilled movement. We looked at Esther, and we built the test that separates a wise voice from a fearful one. Now we are going to name the thing that stops even the wisest chosen ones from crossing the threshold they are already ready for. But before I show you that, I need to tell you one more thing, because what I am about to reveal in the next few minutes is the piece that ties everything together. It connects the knowing you carry, the wisdom God is releasing over your life, and something very specific about how your mind was designed to access that knowing in the first place. When you see how these 3 things are connected, the season you are in will make a different kind of sense. Stay with me for this. Here is the obstacle. It is not doubt. It is not fear. Those are easy enough to identify. What stops a chosen one from moving after the knowing has been confirmed, after the wisdom has been understood, after the direction has become undeniable, is something far more subtle. And it is dangerous, precisely because it sounds spiritual. It calls itself wisdom. It sounds like wisdom. It speaks the language of wisdom. but its fruit is permanent delay. Here is what it sounds like from the inside. I am waiting for the right time. I am being discerning. I am not moving until I am sure. I am protecting what God has placed in me. And every single one of those statements can be true. They can describe a chosen one who is genuinely practicing wisdom, but they can also describe a chosen one who is using the language of wisdom to avoid the discomfort of movement. And the difference between those two people is not the words they use, it is what is underneath the words. Counterfeit wisdom has a right time that never arrives. The confirmation that would finally be enough keeps moving just out of reach. The readiness that is being waited for exists somewhere in the future, but never quite in the present. Real wisdom, chakma, has certainty underneath it. It can tell you what it is waiting for. And when that thing arrives, it moves. I want to say something directly to anyone who recognizes this pattern in themselves. You are not spiritually broken. You are not lacking in faith. What has happened is that fear found the one form of clothing a spiritually sensitive person would not immediately reject, and it put on the coat of wisdom. And you have been carrying something real, something that deserved to move a long time ago, dressed in the language of caution. You are allowed to move. You are allowed to trust what has been confirmed in you. You are allowed to carry wisdom and forward motion at the same time. You were never asked to choose between them. Being prepared and being still are not the same thing. And the season you are in is asking you to know the difference. Now, here is what the Father wants you to understand about what happens when you move wisely. The covering does not arrive before the step. The protection comes with the movement. A chosen one who waits at the threshold for divine covering to appear first will wait a very long time. But a chosen one who moves in alignment with what they have been prepared for, that is the moment the covering becomes visible. The umbrella does not protect you while it is still folded. It opens when you walk into the rain. There is an ancient archetype older than any institution, older than any name of the person who moved without a complete map, not recklessly, not blindly, but without a detailed plan that accounted for every turn. They moved because they carried something inside them that was more reliable than any map could ever be, a compass. An internal certainty about the direction, not the route, but the direction. That is what you have been carrying, not a map, a compass. And the Father is not asking you to have every answer before you move. He is asking you to trust what the compass has been saying and to step forward with the quality of someone who has been prepared for this exact threshold. You are committed to this calling. You are covered in this movement. You are commissioned for this season. I want to tell you about someone, and I share this as a pattern I have seen lived out, not as a specific claim. A woman who was told by nearly everyone close to her that she was wrong, family members, people she trusted. All of them looked at her calling and said she was confused, that she was reading too much into a feeling, that if God had truly spoken, it would have been clearer than this. She had carried the knowing for over 2 years. She had tried to release it. She could not. So, she applied something like what we talked about. She asked herself every morning for 3 weeks, is this voice certain or is it urgent? Every morning the answer was the same, certain, not frantic, not demanding, just certain, still there, still saying the same thing. So she moved, quietly, without announcement, without proof, and without perfect conditions. She moved in the direction the compass had been pointing. Within 60 days, a door opened that she had not even known to look for. She said later, I had to prove myself in the direction before I declared myself to the world. That is what chakma looks like in real life. Prepared movement, not premature, not delayed. Right. Take a breath with me here, because before we go into the final piece of this message, the part that connects everything we have covered to something you can actually carry with you, I want you to simply receive what has already been said. You do not need to do anything with it yet. Just let it land. Let me draw together what we have covered, plainly, before we move forward. You came here carrying a knowing that had not yet received its confirmation. That knowing is real. The signs we named are not coincidences. They are the consistent markers of discernment in a chosen one standing at a genuine threshold. Chachma, wisdom as skilled motion, not stillness, reframes what God is asking of you in this season. He is not asking for more waiting. He is asking for better movement. The two-voice test is a tool you can apply to any decision. Is the voice certain, or is it urgent? And the pattern of counterfeit wisdom, the delay that wears wisdom's face, is something you can now name and no longer be controlled by. You are the person this message was prepared for, not a general category. You, the one who has been carrying the knowing, waiting for the confirmation, and who is now standing at the threshold with a clearer understanding of how to cross it wisely. What comes next is something I have been building toward since the beginning of this message, because there is a dimension of what we have been talking about, the knowing, the discernment, the ability to hear the wise voice clearly, that has a very specific scientific foundation. And that foundation opens a door I want to show you now. A research team whose findings have been cited at institutions including MIT, Princeton, and Harvard, along with several other leading research universities, mapped something in the human brain that most people have never been told about. And it connects directly to what we have been speaking about today. The brain operates at different frequencies, but there is one brainwave state that stands above the others in what it enables. It is called gamma, and the science around gamma is remarkable. Gamma is the frequency of heightened pattern recognition, intuitive processing, the ability to hold multiple layers of information and synthesize them into something that feels like and functionally is genuine insight. The moments when something clicks, when something lands, when you know something without being able to fully explain how you know it. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years studying what activates gamma and what suppresses it, and what he discovered explains a great deal about the experience you have been carrying. When we are children, gamma is naturally active. Children make connections adults miss. They carry a kind of knowing that has not yet been educated out of them. This is not mythology, it is measurable neuroscience. And then the decline effect begins. Around age 7, as formal education and social pressure begin shaping the brain, gamma activity decreases. By adulthood, most people operate at a fraction of the gamma frequency they were born with. The discernment you have been feeling, the pattern recognition that has been pointing you in a specific direction, is your brain trying to function at the frequency it was designed for. Your gamma capacity has been fighting to break through the suppression the world layered on top of it. Dr. Lake's 34 years of research, drawing on findings from some of the world's most respected institutions, led to something called the Genius Song, a 7-minute audio track listened to through headphones that uses a process called brain entrainment to guide your brain back into the gamma state. You do not have to meditate. You do not have to follow a complex practice. You sit. You listen for 7 minutes. That is it. More than 18,000 people have used it. And the refund rate, the number of people who tried it and decided it was not worth keeping, is under 4%, which means more than 96% of people who use it choose to continue. Chosen one, you were not born without the capacity to hear God clearly. You were born with gamma, fully active, and the world did what the world does. The Genius Song does not give you something new. It restores what was always there. It brings back the frequency that the knowing you have been carrying has been trying to transmit through all along. Earlier in this message, I mentioned a scientist who had built a body of research that covers far more ground than one message can hold. The Genius Song is the first door of that work. It is the foundational one, the place where the restoration begins. I want to tell you about a woman, 38 years old, who had already tried meditation, yoga, spiritual retreats, every practice she could find. She came to the Genius Song with nothing left to lose. She listened every day for 2 weeks. When someone asked her to describe the change in one word, she did not say focus, she did not say clarity. She said synchronicities. She said the universe began speaking to her in a language she actually recognized. The signs that had been arriving separately started forming a coherent picture. The knowing she had been carrying for years suddenly had a cleaner frequency to transmit through. That is what gamma restoration does for a discerning chosen one. It does not give you a new spirit. It gives your spirit a clearer signal. Now, I know some of you are wondering whether this is real. That is wisdom. The same test applies here. So let me give you what I have. 18,000 people, under 4% refund rate. Dr. Robert Lake, 34 years. That is not a shortcut. That is a life of scientific dedication. And for those wondering whether it is complicated, it is 7 minutes. Headphones, eyes closed. That is the practice. And for those thinking about the cost, most people looking for this kind of clarity have spent far more than $39 on monthly apps, courses, or retreats that were never designed to specifically restore gamma. The original price for the Genius Song is $49. For those reaching it through this message, the price is $39. That difference exists because Dr. Lake's mission is to reach people who genuinely need this, not to maximize a commercial outcome. And when you access the Genius Song today, you receive 4 additional resources at no added cost. The first is Genius Child, a version of the audio calibrated for younger minds before the decline effect has fully set in. A $19 resource, yours free. The second is the original book that the film The Secret was based on, the source text most people have never read. A $20 value included. The third is a 22-minute guided visualization across 4 domains of your life: finances, relationships, health, and purpose. Sold separately for $29, yours free. And the fourth is a practical guide to 5 daily habits that keep gamma active after the initial restoration, worth $12. Also included, that is $80 in additional resources, included with a $39 investment. And the guarantee. If at any point within 90 days you feel the Genius Song is not what was described, you receive a full refund. No conditions, no questions, and you keep every one of the 4 bonuses, not as compensation, but because what you will have received in those 90 days has genuine value on its own. One thing I want to make sure you know before you look anywhere else: the Genius Song is only available at this price through the link in the description and the pinned comment below. It is not on Amazon. It is not available through any other source at the $39 price. The link below is the only protected point of access. If your spirit is drawn toward this, if what we have been speaking about today is landing in a way that feels like more than coincidence, the information is there when you are ready. Only follow it if you genuinely feel led. Now, before this message gives its final word, let me say something over your life that I believe will remain with you long after this moment is over. You are the seer who sees clearly when others see only noise. You are the pioneer who goes first into territory that others are not yet ready to enter. You are the voice that will speak what others feel but cannot find words for. These are not aspirations. These are descriptions. They are what you already are. And I hear the Father commissioning you through this message. Go. Go with what you know. Move with the wisdom you have been given, and arrive at what has already been prepared for you. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to do something in your mind. Picture yourself standing at the threshold you have been facing. Not at the destination yet, just at the threshold. And see yourself standing there, not with haste, not with hesitation, with the settled certainty of someone who has been prepared for this exact moment. Wisdom, not as a weight in your hands, but as a mantle already resting on your shoulders. And from that place, take one step, not running, not flinching. One deliberate, prepared, wisdom-anchored step forward. That step is already in you. It has always been in you. Father, I want to pause and acknowledge what this chosen one has been carrying. The seasons of holding a knowing without external confirmation. The faithfulness of returning to a truth that would not leave them, even when everything around them said to release it. That faithfulness was seen. Every quiet moment of it was seen. Right now, release everything that told you that you were wrong. Release the weight of every voice that could not see what you were carrying. Release the delay that wore wisdom's name, but had nothing of wisdom's certainty underneath it. Let it fall, the way a heavy thing falls, when shoulders that have been carrying it too long finally decide to put it down. You are a chosen one. You move with wisdom, and what God has confirmed you receive. In His name. Amen. It is settled. You are not alone in this. Right now, all across the world, chosen ones are standing at the same threshold and beginning to move. If this message confirms something that someone in your life has been carrying, share it with them, not as information, as a gift. Because what was given to you today was not only for you. If this message confirmed what you have been sensing, drop the word wisdom in the comments right now. That one word, typed and sent, is more than a comment. It is a declaration. It is you saying out loud, I know, and I am moving. If this brought something real into your life today, a like is your agreement with what was just spoken over you. Stay connected to this space. What comes next was prepared with the same care as what you received today.